Alright, this time we are going to be looking at leveling the plate on a 3D printer. Ooh. So, not too complex, and one of the things is, once you have a level plate, really you never have to level it again, unless something weird happens. Leveling a plate only happens once, so there's adjustment screws right there. Let's see if I can point to that without, yeah, right here on all corners to level your plate. Also, you have this. Okay, this little piece right here will make it so it's a finite adjustment on how 0 is handled here. Okay? In other words, this tip gets really close to the glass. But how close is that? And how can we adjust it in very fine increments? Alright, to start out with, let's go into the software. Okay, let's jog this thing around a little bit. Make sure it still works. Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower it down. So. Okay, now, should be said that there is a little tiny thing on one side. Okay, let's discover this, shall we? I'm going to try to zoom in on the said thing that I'm talking about. Excuse me, what am I... There we go. Just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, this mechanism right here is a switch. Move the software out of the way. And what happens is this little plate right here makes contact with this switch. And that's what stops it from going all the way down and crashing into the bed. Okay. Now you can adjust this by taking and turning this clockwise or counterclockwise. Counterclockwise will make it go down just a little bit further. Then clockwise will make it go up just a little bit. Okay, counterclockwise and clockwise. Alright, now that we know where that mechanism's at, I can zoom back out. Also located, while we're zooming around, you can see this little screw. This is an adjustment to make the bed go up and down. This is what levels it. So if I turn this to the right, bed goes down just a little bit. To the left, bed goes up. Alright. That's on all four. So if you can imagine, the ones in the back are just sort of the opposite of that, because they're in the back of it, so it would be counterclockwise, clockwise. We'll get into that. So what I'm going to do here is take in the software and lower it all the way down to Z. That's home. And since I didn't have it that far off to begin with, I can do that and be pretty secure about where it's going to lie. It's not going to go crashing into the bed because it was just a little bit off. And that's how it always is. Unless you really have to make some adjustments there, you don't have to worry about it crashing into the bed. And you can see that right there. Okay, well, what I want to do is first off try to get this just about perfect and see what happens when I zoom in. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, that's nice. Alright, now I have this thing. It's a spacer. Okay. Now, after a while, you won't have to use this anymore. It's just the fact that, you know, if you're the first time leveling it, I would highly suggest getting one of these. Now I can pretty much eyeball it and go on with life. Okay, so, that being said, I can go like this, and it freely goes under there with that spacing. And this spacing is 0.051. Does that make a difference? Well, yes, it does. This is a 0.5 head, so we would want to use something like that as a good spacer. I want it to barely touch this thing. Okay, so it needs to come down just a little bit, and what I'm going to do is take and rotate that little knob that I showed you earlier counterclockwise. One skosh. Technical term for measurement. And then I'm going to hit that again, and then it's going to go down, and I'm going to see if there's pressure on this yet, and there is none. It's still freely sliding underneath there. Okay, so I want to do that over and over, just a little bit at a time. I'll hear like a little bit of a click there. And that's the spring on that Z-axis fine adjustment. Okay, it's pretty close, just a little bit more. Again, you're going to see me come in and out. So now I have pressure on it, and it slides underneath there. Can I slide it out and slide it back in? A little bit. If I put enough pressure on it, I can. But I want to go just a little bit up now. So I'm making adjustments to that screw on the side. A little bit further. That's pretty good. Now you'll find that if you go all the way back down and then try to come back up, that it takes a little bit longer because, you know, it reset itself on that spring that is on the Z-axis fine adjustment. But this is very important that you do this from time to time. Leveling out your bed is very important. Okay, perfect. This slides just under there, and I don't have to put much pressure under it. It just slides under. Good. Okay, well, we have it in the center of the bed. Just like that. Now we have to worry about, are the other corners the same spacing? So what I do is I go like that, push this back, push this over, and then start gauging these corner at a time by sliding this under, adjusting the screw until it starts grabbing the metal and then backing it down just a little bit so it slides underneath there. I'll do that on every corner. Okay, just like that. Doesn't hurt the machine to move this manually unless it's locked, but generally when you do this you're not running a part, so it's not going to be locked. Perfect. Okay, next one. So this one's a little discombobulating to get to go. because it's the opposite of what you were doing before. Okay, good. And there we go. Pretty happy with that. Alright, now that it should be level, what I'm going to do is put it back in the center and see if it rubs at all. It might rub just a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to turn this just a micron this way. And then go ahead and hit the Z-axis home button. Okay. This will be a little harder to get it underneath there. That's normal. What you're generally worried about is getting it level all the way around and then adjusting it so the spacing works again into the center. And depending upon what head you have, like this becomes a very minute nightmare to get to go. Because if you have a 0.25 J head, you have to get this almost dead on. But this is a 0.5, so it's a little forgiving. It's a good training head for students, and it's a great part builder. Alright, and I should be able to drag the head across, and I shouldn't see any like little scratches in the hairspray. Yes, I said hairspray. So now that we have it level, I'm going to run through a test, and that's in the next video on how to take a 3D part out of Blender and just print it. So we're going to print, I call it a leveling cube, to make sure everything is level and good to go. So that's in the next video. That is how you level a bed. Enjoy.